Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The global launch for Mortal Kombat Onslaught is finally here, and today I'm going to take you through the beginner's guide so you guys can get your rosters up and running and start knocking over some of the content that this game has to offer at launch. So let's get straight into it, and the first thing that you are going to be introduced to is the story mode, and the first character that they are going to give you for free for this first chapter is Scorpion. They will also give you some generic Spirit Netherrealm characters. The first thing that I'm going to advise you is do not spend any resources at all upgrading these generic characters. It's not going to take very long before you start getting some familiar characters into your roster that you're going to care about and are going to be worth upgrading. There is also another drawback for trying to upgrade generic characters that I'll get into a little bit later on, but just please do not put anything into these characters because you will not be using them for very long at all. As for Scorpion, he's probably going to carry you through a lot of the early game content, not just the story mode, but you'll be using him in other areas as well. So feel free to upgrade him as much as you want to. You're going to get plenty of use out of him. Now, when it comes to story mode, it's very important to play through all of these chapters, get as far as you can, as fast as you can, because there are a lot of resources that you're going to be able to get to upgrade your characters. Now, you may be familiar with some other squad building games where if you have all of your characters survive the battle, you'll automatically get 3 stars on that battle. This works a little bit differently, where it gives you 3 different objectives that you have to complete to get each star. So the very first battle, you've got win the battle, win using at least 1 Spirit Affinity fighter, and win using at least 1 Scorpion fighter. The first few battles are going to be pretty straightforward. You'll get the 3 stars on them pretty easily, but as you progress, there are going to be different objectives where you may not even be able to do it in one attempt. You're going to have to swap out characters. You're going to have times where you may not even have the characters required to be able to get all 3 stars, and that's perfectly fine. Just keep playing through as high as you possibly can. You can always come back to these challenges later to get the other stars. At launch, there are 4 chapters available. You have Scorpion, you have Johnny Cage, Kitana, and Jax. When you enter each chapter, they will give you those characters as well. So if you don't already have them, you will be able to add them to your collection and start building them up from there. After a couple of story mode battles, the tutorial will take you to your first character summon. Now, during the beta, this would always give you a random 5-star character. Hopefully this is still the same, because those 5-star characters have a very, very low drop rate. And if you're like me and you are really unlucky in those kinds of things, I still only have that 1 5-star character in my roster. But that character is really going to be the cornerstone of the whole early game for you until you can really build up some better characters in the roster and hopefully get some more of those 5-star characters down the road, so you've got a few options there. But it's at this stage of the game where you can really start to add a few more characters to your roster that you're really going to be able to add to those teams and start building up. If we have a look at the summon screen, you have 2 different types of summon orbs. You've got the green ones and you've got the blue ones. The blue ones are a little bit more exclusive. If you have a look at the very top option here, this is your featured fighter that does rotate quite often. This is where you're going to spend your blue orbs. Now, if you have a look just above where the summon buttons are, it says collect the featured fighter in 80 summons. Now, if you are free to play, do not waste these orbs. What you're going to want to do is save up 800 of these. Now, it is going to take a bit of time to save them up. You do get them daily, so make sure you keep saving these, because once you get those 800, you can spend them all on the character that you actually want, and you'll be able to get that character straight away, along with any other characters that you might draw along the way. Of course, you are more than welcome to try your hand at trying to get him with just 1 or 2 goes at a time, but you only have a 1.25% chance of drawing the featured fighter, so it's probably better just to save up and then guarantee that you get him. As for the other summons that are available, the Apprentice summon, that's the cheapest one that you can do with the green orbs. That will give you a chance of getting either a fighter or a relic, which you'll use to enhance your fighters. This is probably the summon that you're going to be using quite a lot at the very start. Then you might be able to move on to the fighter summon. So this will guarantee that you will only get a fighter, doesn't include any relics. This one is 25 orbs just to do one. The best thing about doing this one for the extra orbs is that it does give you a much bigger chance of drawing out those 5-star fighters. The Apprentice summon, you only have 0.25% chance, whereas the fighter summon, you have 1.25% chance. As for the Relic summon, this one will cost you 20 orbs per go. Now with this one, you do have a better chance of getting the better relics in the game, and as you increase your roster, you're going to want some decent relics, but shortly I will show you a much better way to guarantee you get the better relics as opposed to using your orbs to draw these out. You're better off trying to use these to increase your fighter collection and hopefully nailing those 5-star characters. The last summon here is your daily free summon. This one here can only get you up to a 4-star character or a rare relic. The odds on getting them are very, very low, of course, because it is a free one. They don't want to give away the good stuff too easily. But the important thing that you have to remember is that this is actually a 24-hour cooldown from the time that you claim it. I'm hoping that this is something that they do change down the track and just give you one per day rather than having the cooldown, because the problem with this one, say you collect it at 10 AM in the morning and then the following day you're not online at that time, you can't collect it until 1 PM in the afternoon, you're going to end up having a situation where eventually you're going to miss one for that entire day. The only thing I can advise with this is pick a time of day when you're generally going to be online at that exact same time and see if you can claim it as the clock ticks over each day, and that way you don't miss out on anything. If you do, it's not that big a deal because like I said, you can't get the 5-star characters or anything from that, so the rewards aren't generally all that good. So if you miss out, not such a big deal, but anything for free is going to be a good thing. Now, in the first part of the game, what you're really looking for is 4 characters that you are familiar with, not the generic ones that they've thrown in there, that you can start to build your team around. It shouldn't take you long to find those 4, but the important thing that you have to remember is that you're going to have very limited resources, especially the XP to upgrade the level of your characters. So what you're going to be doing is focusing on 4 characters only. If you've unlocked 10 characters and you're trying to upgrade 10 characters all at the same time, you're going to run out of resources and you're going to have 10 characters that are going to remain fairly weak for quite a while. If you really just want to pick your 4 favorite characters, if you've unlocked them, that's perfectly fine, but just pick and stick with those 4. So let's have a quick look and see how we're going to upgrade characters, what's required, all the different things that you're going to need to know. Now this is your level up screen, where at the bottom you'll see simply says level up. When you tap on that, you have a slider there which will show you the maximum level that you can take those characters to based on the XP that you currently have stored up. Now you really want to try and spread that around between those 4 characters, so even if you get each of your characters up to level 20, then you can start doing them one by one up to level 30, level 40, level 50, etc, etc. Once you get up to Around about level 60, it's going to start getting a bit more expensive, so you might start going up by 5s. You want to get these characters to at least level 80 to be fairly competitive within most areas of the game. It's at this point where you may want to consider starting to level up a 5th character, maybe a 6th character, if you want to go back and do some of those other challenges through the story mode, or even some of your other game modes if there's specific characters that you need to overcome a particular obstacle, then you can start putting those other teams together. The maximum level at the time of launch is level 100, but it is going to be a very slow grind to max out some of these characters, especially as a free-to-play player. Don't feel like you need to go and spend money just to max someone out. You will eventually get them up there. Everyone has the same maximum level, whether you're spending money or not. The only difference is anyone that wants to spend money will just get there a little bit faster. The next tab that we're going to have a look at is the Relic. Now, these are a little bit more powerful than the standard gear pieces. It can give you a much bigger boost once you've leveled these up. Now, when you are talking about the rare and epic relics, they're going to be catered to a specific type of character. You don't normally get them where anyone can use them. So they are designed to really enhance the effectiveness of certain types of characters. Now, to level these up, they do have their own relic XP, which is really good. The other thing you can do to level them up is use a lot of those common relics that you do have there that you're not really going to use. You can put them into your other relics to enhance them further. Now, once you do max these out at level 15, you can limit break these. What you're going to need is a duplicate of that relic to be able to limit break and increase those levels that little bit higher. Now, if you are lucky enough to draw some of the rare and epic relics in the game, don't just put them on anybody. Save them for those characters that you're really going to want to max out and make really powerful, because they're going to be more effective on those characters that you're going to be using rather than a character that you don't use all that often. You can swap them out if you want, but it does cost you gold to remove them from a character, and in the early game you might not have the gold to be able to do that too often, so just be careful where and when you start applying these relics. The next thing that we're going to talk about is gear. Now, the gear system in this game is fairly similar to anything that you would see in similar types of games. You have different sets that you put together of either 2 or 4 components. Once you get them together, you get a bonus for that particular statistic. Now, one thing that you may or may not be happy about, the statistic that is so important in most games, which is speed, does not exist in this game, so you don't have to worry about people spending so much money that they can have characters that are just way faster than what you can possibly have. The only stat that affects anything like that is called haste, and what that will do is increase the speed at which your special meter bar fills up. Now, don't think that that means you have to have a haste set on every single character. You do need 4 pieces for that bonus, but it's not always that important depending on the character. What you're going to want to do is have a look at each character and see what abilities they have and see what could enhance them, whether it's crit damage, whether they need defense, whether it's health, maybe just basic attack, all of those sorts of things. And then you can work out what type of gear you might want to put on that character just to make them more effective. Now, the next thing that we are going to have a look at is the abilities of characters. Now, generally, you've got 3 types of abilities, which are the auto abilities, which are just their basic attacks that they're going to be using. You might have a passive ability that gives them some kind of buff or healing or something that is more unique to that particular character and enhances their playstyle. Then you have the special ability. So you will see that bar filling up with each character as they battle. This is on a timer, so the haste set that we spoke about before can just make that go a little bit faster. With that special ability, There are all kinds of different things that come into the tactical play of a particular team. So as you collect more characters, you're going to find that some characters really work well with certain types of characters, and when you can trigger those special abilities, it can enhance the entire team. Maybe it's just something like Sub-Zero could freeze characters, so it gives you that advantage while they're frozen. You could even have a healing ability that's just going to keep you in the battle a bit longer and help that team survive. There's so many different things. You're just going to have to look at individual characters and find out what might work best for you and decide how you're going to build your team. Now, the one thing that you really can't neglect when it comes to building your characters up is enhancing these abilities. Now, this is where all the ability terms come into it that you're going to be collecting through story mode and some of the boss battles and things like that. And as you increase your abilities, you're going to need different tomes to get them to that next level, and you're going to be able to collect them in a few areas of the game, but the story mode is where you really get the base of these done. So the brown tomes and the green tomes are the ones that you're going to need early on to really get those abilities up and running. Now, these are a limited resource, so another reason why you need to narrow your focus on the team that you're building up. Just select those 4 characters, and the good thing about it is with the brown tomes, once you've done that on a character, that character's not going to need any more brown tomes, so you can move on to the next character. And once you've done those 4 characters, you can even start doing other characters that you haven't really had a chance to work on yet, but you might be interested in leveling up because you're not going to use them for your main 4. The same thing is going to happen with the green tomes. As you finish with your main characters, you're not going to need the green ones after that, so you can move on to other characters. Now, as you build these abilities higher, there will also be a level requirement before you can apply the next level to those abilities, so just be aware of that, which is another reason why it is important to get your characters up to those higher levels. For the top levels of your abilities, you will need to max out those character levels, so it is a process. You're going to take a while to get them up there, but just keep with it. You're going to end up having a really strong team by the end of it. Now, the last tab here is the Soulbind. Now, with the Soulbind, you do collect affinity souls throughout some of your rewards. You also get these when you draw duplicates of characters from the summons. Now, this is the way that you can increase your characters from 3 stars to 4 stars to 5 stars to 6 stars. All you need to do is, as you collect these souls, you just tap on each of the souls. The bigger they are, the more XP that they will add to the soul essence. Once that bar is filled up, you'll be able to increase the star level of that character. Increasing the star level does increase the health and attack stats of your characters, so well worth doing this, but avoid just leveling characters up at a whim, because getting some of those characters from 5 star up to 6 star is a huge jump. You're going to have a lot of affinity souls to be able to do that. So I would be saving them for when you do draw those 5-star characters and you really want them to be as strong as possible. They're the ones that you want to add all of these souls to get that 6 star. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is when you have a look at the screen on the left hand side here, you will see a bar that says combos. When you tap on that, you'll see that as you increase that level, you get bonus attack, you could get bonus health, crit chance. Sometimes you get different abilities, whether they're passive abilities or attacks. It's going to be different for everybody. Now, this can turn an average character into a very strong character. Now, the way that you do increase this particular bar is by, again, drawing duplicates of the same character. Every time you draw that same character, you'll get 1 increase to the combo bar. Now, this is actually something that can turn those 3-star characters that you're going to draw a lot of into more valuable characters than some of the 4 and even 5-star characters if you can max that bar out. So as your collection grows and you're thinking about which character you might want to level up next, have a look at those combo meters and see which ones are the highest, because that could be a really good way to narrow down your focus and decide which characters you're going to level up next. Please note that all of the generic characters in the game, the ones that I mentioned before not to level up, none of them have a combo meter, so make sure that you don't spend anything on these characters. You could draw so many of them, it's not going to matter. They will not get any more powerful, so please avoid spending your resources on these guys at all costs. Now this may change down the track. There may be certain characters that become useful in certain situations. If that ever happens, I'm sure that myself or some of the other creators out there will let you guys know that this one is okay to work on. But for now, just leave them all aside, because there are so many better characters out there that are worth leveling up and making far better use of limited resources. Now, I did mention before that there are some free-to-play ways of getting some of the better gear and relics in the game. So what we're going to do is jump into the store. We're going to have a look down where it says bundles, and this is where you're going to be saving up your crystals, so that way you can get some of the better things in the game. If you have a look, you'll see that there are some of the gear sets where you have 4 gear pieces that are required, and this usually refreshes every 5 or 6 days, I think it is. And that way, if you're looking for an attack gear set, if you're looking for crit damage, if you're looking for a haste set, this is where you're going to get these from. The purple gear is currently the best one that you can get. You may pick up different pieces here and there, but this will give you the complete set that you can put straight on one of your characters that you might have been waiting for. If you scroll across just a little bit, you'll also see that there is a set of 2. Now this one always coincides with the 4, so you will have 6 pieces that you can apply all to one character. So for example, you're not going to get a chest piece in the set of 4 and a chest piece in the set of 2, so it crosses over. So this is a great way to get a full purple set onto your characters. Crystal rewards are pretty decent in this game, so you might have to save up for about a week or so, but then you can get one of these sets of 4 and then maybe even have some left over. It won't take you long to get the set of 2, but you are going to be putting some really good gear pieces on your better characters. Now there are some other packs here that do have different orbs and things like that in them. I would probably avoid them. You do get some decent rewards as far as orbs are concerned. And like I said before, you do have limited resources, so you're not going to be able to upgrade too many characters at once anyway. So I would just take the in-game rewards for orbs for the time being and just summon as you save them up. Now if we click on the store tab, we're going to come down to the exchange tab here. Now in here you're going to find all kinds of different things, whether it's coins, whether it's tomes, whether it's XP. These are the places that you really want to be spending some of that extra crystal rewards that you do get, especially this fighter XP chest where you can get 40,000 XP for 125 crystals. Once you get up to that level 80, 85, and it starts getting much harder to upgrade the levels of your characters, this can really be an important chest to invest in. The one thing I would avoid though is getting the coins chest, because you do get quite a lot of coins after you've started upgrading some of your characters and you're getting those better rewards. You're going to have plenty of coins, so don't waste any of your crystals on that. As you can see, I'm currently sitting on over 11.5 million coins. So when you've really narrowed your focus on the characters that you're leveling up at a time, you're not going to be running out of coins very often, so avoid getting that particular chest. if we go down to the rewards tab, this is the one that's going to take a little bit longer to start saving up for. But when you do save up, you can get some really powerful relics from this particular tab. Now, as you start getting some really powerful fighters, you might want an epic relic to put on them. Some of your other fighters, maybe you're happy just to get some of the rare ones that you can use for now. The epic relics are quite expensive at 2,400 crystals, but the rare ones are only 425 and they are still pretty good. So they're definitely worth getting in the short term. But what I would be doing is, if you are interested in getting some of these, make sure that you tap on them, tap again once you go in there, and just see if there are any restrictions on who you can use them for. Because if you have a particular character that you want to put this on, you want to make sure that you are getting the right relic. For example, if you have a look at the Superstar Boom mic here, you can see that you get some really good attack and health bonuses, but it can only be equipped to Johnny Cage characters. So if you've unlocked Revenant Kitana, for example, the 5-star character, you think she's really good, you want to build her up, hey, I've got this relic here, and you go and spend the crystals only to realize that you can't apply the relic, you're gonna be pretty upset, especially if you haven't really done much with the Johnny Cage that's currently in the game, who's only a 3-star character. You're not really gonna feel too good about your purchase. But the main thing that I want you guys to understand is use the store as your friend. Don't look at the store as something that only pay-to-win players are going to be able to use. As free-to-play, you still get crystal rewards, you're still going to have that currency, and you can spend that any way that you like. Just make sure you're spending it on the right things, and then there's no reason why a free-to-play player can't compete against someone that might have spent hundreds or possibly thousands of dollars. Yes, it may take some time for you to get there, but there's definitely a way that you can get to the top and compete against pay-to-win players. Hopefully you guys can all build up really strong squads pretty quickly, but now we're going to talk about some of the other modes where you're going to be able to use these squads. The first one, of course, is the arena. Now, the first thing that you are going to want to do is set your defense. Make sure that you always have your best characters in this defense. So as you unlock other characters and start to build them up and change your main squad around, you want to go back and always be updating this to make sure that you can hold your rank as best as possible. I can't currently show you any footage of the arena because it is locked until the global launch starts for the new season, but it's pretty straightforward. It's a 4v4 match. You'll get 5 opponents to pick from. My advice is pick the easiest opponent that you can possibly go up against. You should be able to win that battle and climb those ranks a lot faster. You will start with 5 attempts. The energy that you do have for the arena does refresh every hour. So if you can do 5 battles, you can come back in 5 hours time, you can do another 5. If your opponent is not what you're after, if you think they're a little bit too strong, you can refresh and get another 5. Just be aware that you can only refresh every 10 minutes. If you do want to refresh before that, there is a crystal cost to refresh again, so it's always better to wait that 10 minutes and get a free refresh. Like most games, this arena will get quite tough at some point. As you climb those different tiers, you're going to get opponents that are much harder than what your team is able to take down, but that's perfectly fine because you have something to work towards. As you get stronger, you will be able to take on some of those other teams. Try and look at the arena more as a challenge than something that is a paywall restriction. The next one that we're going to have a look at is the boss battles. You have Liu Kang, Goro, Quan Chi, and Scarlet. Liu Kang and Scarlet alternate days in which their event opens. Liu Kang is where you're going to get coins from. Scarlet is where you're going to get the ability tomes from. Goro and Quan Chi are always open and they give you different gear pieces, so you can have a look and see what gear pieces you might need and then pick whichever one is going to suit you. Now this does use the unique energy for this particular event. You start off with 40, it will cost you 10 per battle. This refreshes quite slowly, so you're not going to be able to do a lot per day. There are some rewards that you will come across that will give you more energy for this. If you do get that, I suggest going back and at least doing an auto battle to get those extra rewards, because your energy is not going to refresh if it's over the limit. Now, each of these battles is going to have a different type of tactic that might require different types of characters. I'm not going to go over all of the strategies for everything in this video, but just by upgrading your characters, you should be able to do the first 3 levels of each of these battles. So at least until you get the characters required, or until you're strong enough, you can auto these battles and get some of those rewards at whatever level you've been able to get the 3 stars on. The last game mode that we're going to take a look at is the Chasm. Now this is essentially a ladder type event where you go through different battles which will get progressively harder as you go, and there are different objectives that you have to achieve to get the 3 stars on each one. So there is a good chance that some of them you may not get 3 stars on straight away. My advice again is just go as high as you possibly can. You can always come back to those other ones later, because when you do get 3 stars on something, you can auto that level and get the rewards up to 5 times per day. So very handy if you don't have a lot of time but you just want to get some quick rewards. You can go into the Chasm, the highest level that you've got the 3 stars on, grab those rewards, move on to another task. There are currently 100 levels in the game, so lots of challenges to try and get through. It will take you some time to build up the squads to get through it, but that's one of the great challenges about the game, is there's always something to work towards. Now the last couple of things that we're going to take a look at, first of all, you've got your daily, weekly and achievement challenges here. Make sure that you always work through these. Once you get your daily challenges done, which you can do fairly quickly, you're going to get some great rewards. Completing the weekly rewards will get you some really good orb rewards that you can then go and do your summons with. Also, with the achievements, start working through them for some really great rewards that are going to help you progress those characters a little bit faster. And the last thing that I'm going to draw your attention to, when you go to the home screen, right in the center there, you can see the Mortal Kombat symbol. That is the gong. This will take 12 hours to fill up, but you can claim rewards at any time just by tapping on that. But if you do let it go for the full 12 hours, you're really going to get some good stuff. So make sure that if you can, come back every 12 hours and claim those rewards. That should cover all of the basics in the game. I will do some other videos down the track for some of the more advanced stuff. But that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget, like and sub, you know the deal. We got plenty more Mortal Kombat Onslaught coming your way. Don't miss out, and we'll catch you in the next one.